Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. Peace be unto you for those of you who don't know what that means. I'm wishing each and every one of you peace. I'm grateful for your presence here today, and I thank you for joining me. We're going to be talking about chapter 2 of my book, Conversations with Ourselves, basically self talk. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, let the algorithm know, allow everybody to know that we're here. I didn't say that right, but y'all know what I meant. Okay. And we'll see y'all in a couple minutes. All right. Don't go anywhere. Grab you some tea, grab you some coffee, do whatever you got to do. But I think you'll get something out of today. See you in a couple minutes.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you, and welcome to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show. I am your host, Sajda Wendy Muhammad, and tonight on the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, we're going to be reviewing chapter 2 of my book called The Mind of an Entrepreneur. And it's entitled Conversations with Yourself. And, what we're doing is we're doing a series, like a 9-week series. We're doing a chapter each week. On my previous book, I've written a bunch of ebooks, but this particular book has been out a while. And in preparation for the new book that's going to be launching this fall, we're just going to go over the old book, give y'all a chance to catch up, refresh. So if you don't have the book, it's available on Amazon. If you do have it and you want to just buy a copy for somebody else, you can do that too. Okay. So welcome to everybody. I'm going to get us started today. I'm going to read a little excerpt from the book. We're going to talk about the different types of self-talk. And then I have a short video for you. Okay. The whole idea here is to just let us know it's all right to talk to yourself. In fact, about it, it's a good thing. Isn't it interesting how society, there's so many things that society tells us are bad for us and that we shouldn't do, or that they attach a stigma to, but it's okay. And then there's other things that they tell us to do that are actually killing us. So moral of the story is that you got to do your own research out here. You got to study. If you're not a student right now, today in 2024, if you don't make it a habit of double checking and triple checking stuff and double checking data, and even if you get data that's real, understanding what that data means, if you're not in the habit of being that kind of person, then you're going to be in trouble, moving forward, because you're going to end up making a move based on some information that is either not accurate, maybe not complete. That's real talk. Okay. So in chapter 2 of the book, it's called Conversations with Yourself. Create the inner voice of an entrepreneur. You all know my whole goal is to help us as conscious entrepreneurs to have mental strategies to help us navigate the world of business. A lot of us are still in the beginning stages, if you will, trying to figure out how to set our business up, trying to figure out how to run it, how to get our products and services together. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. But let me tell you something. Once you're up and running, as we talked about on Tuesday morning, now you got your competition to deal with. You got your own mental strategy to deal with. You got your own mindset that you got to deal with. So it's a lot. And unfortunately, we just have not been exposed to this as a community. And in general, this country has always been divided between the haves and the have-nots. And those of us that attain that middle class status, we're usually the good employees. Okay. And there's a smaller percentage of us that are entrepreneurs, but most of us are the good employees. What's happening now is that so many of us are becoming unemployable. Either we can't find a job. Some of us are working in industries where credit is an issue. Some of us are working in industry where mistakes that we've made, legal mistakes, we can't have a job. So there's so many people re-entering society from the prison systems or from having had some level of misstep who are unemployable. There's some people who are just unemployable because they have spiritual goals and they have desires and they have things that they want to do and they just can't take some of the day-to-day abuse that they know they may have to take if they have a job. It's just interesting. But I think in today's world, more and more people are becoming unemployable. And for a number of different reasons, personal reasons. Some people, a lot of times people use school as their babysitters. And as we're starting to realize some of the challenges that our school systems have, some of the dangers in leaving your children with other people that you barely know, folks are like, I'm unemployable. I got to stay home, or I got to work from home, or I got to do something because I have these children to look out for. My husband works, but I'm unemployable. I got to find another way to make money, make ends meet. There's that. Some people are taking care of elderly parents and they just say, you know what, I can't work and take care of my aging family member. Some people nowadays themselves have suffered so much. It used to be where corporations had like in their HR departments, right? There were mental health professionals and folks you could talk to. You could go to the nurse and they would help you if you had to go out on FMLA or if you had some kind of problem. And so people could actually literally be suffering from mental illness and still go to work. And nowadays, in many cases, that's just not the case. You can't do it. So there are a number of reasons why people are unemployable. And nowadays, it's so common that that's not a bad word. It's just not. Some people say, you know what, the stress levels of going down there, dealing with them people every day, the toxic environment is too much. I can't do it. I got to work from home. I got to have my own business. I got to control my own destiny. So things are changing. Okay. And one of the things that's very important, because we don't live in a society where that has been a thing, right? We've all been educated to just check the boxes and get a job. So all of the other mental strategies, the mindset, the movement, and what we need to do to become good entrepreneurs, we just haven't been taught it. We just don't know it. And for many of us, we just have not seen business outside of maybe a neighborhood store or a neighborhood restaurant or something very small. And so I've been very fortunate to be in a lot of rooms, a lot of boardrooms, a lot of spaces as a business consultant. And so I got some information. I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a developer, and I got receipts. And I don't hesitate to say that. I don't teach theory. I'm teaching you out of my experiences. And it is out of these experiences that I wrote this book and that I put together the next book, and even these shows that I write and come up with are coming out of and pulling from that experience. So when you're bringing me on board, whether I'm sitting on your board, whether I'm your developer, your coach, or consultant, whatever it is, I'm bringing with you my blood, sweat, and tears that I use to pay for some very valuable experience. All right, so let's get into it. Okay. The importance of self-talk. We are constantly talking to ourselves. You know that, right? So while I'm talking to you, you're having a conversation with yourself. You're either talking about something else, you're either talking about me, you might be stuck on a subject I talked about 5 minutes ago. It could be anything. But while I'm talking to you, there's a conversation being had with yourself. The question is, what is that conversation? Okay. The internal dialogue directly affects our emotions. So whatever you're saying to yourself, if I said something just now that triggered you, if you got low self-esteem or something's wrong with you and I've triggered you, then it's going to impact your emotions. I may have triggered you positively, where you say, you know what, I feel motivated. It's all right that I'm unemployable. I'm ready to go. Whatever it is, this self-talk that we have going on in our brain directly impacts our emotions. And you all know from our courses that we've taught here on this network on emotional intelligence that our emotions impact our decisions. It impacts how we move. It impacts how we interact with people. It impacts how we dress. It impacts any and every decision that we make. Okay. That self-dialogue impacts that emotions. So it's safe to say then that if our emotions affects our decisions, our self-talk affects our emotions, then the self-talk affects our decisions as well. Okay. Because we tend to think negative thoughts over and over again and dwell on what we don't want, We tear ourselves down instead of telling ourselves words of encouragement and support, or simply focusing on a solution or strategic approach. Many of us talk down to ourselves all the time. We look in the mirror and we say something negative about how we look. Ooh, I look fat. Ooh, my head look big. Ooh, something don't look right. Or, man, you be messing up. But we're always having these conversations. Many of us, we walk past a glass. We're walking downtown, you walk past that glass that has your reflection. Many of us are looking. How many times have we looked at that and said, I'm proud of you, girl. You look good. Like, bro, you doing a good job. Or do we look at ourselves and say, man, I shouldn't wear this today? Or I'm looking a little thick. Or I'm looking a little thin. Or I'm looking a little short. Or I look way too tall. What are we saying about ourselves? What conversations are we having with ourselves about ourselves? Trust me, that is part of the hypnosis that is impacting how well we do or how well we don't do in business. So Napoleon Hill, continuing on this chapter, author of the classic book Think and Grow Rich, wrote, whatever the mind can conceive, it can achieve. And I think many of us have heard that so much that we don't really believe it anymore. But if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. You can achieve it. Okay. Learning how to change your mental and emotional states. And we're going to see a video about this in a few minutes, but learning how to change, control, manage your mental and emotional states with inner dialogue, okay, is an invaluable tool. I'm going to stop right there for a minute. What do I mean by that? If you find yourself in a depressed state and you're noticing that your mood is off, and then you start dissecting that and you realize that your self-talk is negative right now, if you can turn that around by changing your posture or taking a walk, creating some movement in your body that causes your blood to flow differently, or just having a different conversation with yourself, this is a valuable tool. What you don't want is to get stuck in an emotional state that you can't get yourself out of. That is one of the most important tools of using the right self-talk with yourself, is being able to adjust your mental state at will. Okay. If you're Sha'Carri Richardson and you're about to run the 200 meters or the 100-meter dash, you're having a conversation with yourself, a conversation that's pumping you up and firing you up so that you win that race. So if 10 minutes before that, you was just sad or depressed or you got some bad news, she's got to know how to turn that self-talk on so that she can do what it is and fire up every cylinder in her body so that she can do what she got to do to win that race. We have to be that same way as entrepreneurs. If we get up in the morning and we feeling sad, we feel like, man, I just don't think I can do this. The money ain't coming in. I'm struggling. Then in order to be able to think of your next move, you got to be having the right dialogue with yourself. If you're having the right dialogue with yourself, you can think of the next decision. What's my next best move? It's going to come much more easily or much easier than if you're having a bad dialogue with yourself. Because the more you keep practicing that negative self-talk over and over and over again, the more you're going to get stuck in an emotional pattern. And get this, the self-talk might not even be your own. Might be something you've seen on television. Might be because you keep watching the same types of movies over and over again. Or you're looking at the news over and over again, and the news may have you depressed. But if you find yourself in a position where you cannot break that emotional loop, then some of these self-talk techniques are things that you're going to need to pay attention to. All right. Let me give you some examples. There's like 3 main categories, okay, that we often use when it comes to self-talk. And for the most part, you can catch yourself by doing this. A lot of us like to personalize everything. So our self-talk is based in or rooted in personalization. Okay. This is from Psychology Today. And what Psychology Today says that a lot of times we personalize every single thing so that no matter what happens, we're always triggered. And a lot of us respond by creating rules for ourselves based on something that we see. So what is personalizing according to Psychology Today? It's when you blame yourself for anything bad that happens with no evidence. Or you personalize, you make everything about you no matter what happens without evidence. You seem to always beat yourself up. For example, a friend or coworker is in a bad mood and you immediately think it's because you've done something to make them mad. I'll go a step further. You may have a friend or a coworker in any kind of mood, a bad mood, and you automatically think it got something to do with you. Negative self-talk that personalizes a situation might be something like, I messed up again, and now my friend is mad at me. I made them have a bad mood. Or it could be, you know what, I called so-and-so today. They didn't even answer the phone. I know they got a problem with me. See, that's how we like to do it. We don't usually go directly to victim. I'm talking to Psychology Today. A lot of times what we do in our community, man, I can't believe she ain't called me back. I don't know who she thinks she is. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she's talking to somebody else. Y'all know how we do. I don't think I need to go deeper into that. Here's the second category, according to Psychology Today: catastrophizing. When your mind always turns to the worst case scenario. For example, you make a small mistake on a work report and automatically expect that you'll be fired. Won't be able to pay your rent. End up out on the street. Negative self-talk that catastrophizes could be the voice in your head saying, I can't do nothing right. And now I'll be homeless and destitute because of it. Now, some of us are aware enough not to do that to ourselves. But again, we combine the catastrophizing with the personalizing. So we may say something like, ooh, I seen where so-and-so went out in the street and fell down and broke their leg. I ain't going in the street no more. Well, maybe they fell down and broke their leg because they had on 8-inch platform shoes. I don't know, but we personalize everything. That's because that's a fear-based, subtraction-based mentality where almost everything makes us so scared that we have to personalize stuff because we're afraid of just about everything. And self-talk is what puts us in that situation. We get off the phone with somebody and then we automatically are taking this scenario that they talked about and applying it to ourselves. And now we're spending mental energy figuring out what we would do, why we can't do that, why we shouldn't do that, what rules do we need to set up in our lives to make it work so that we don't have that happen to us. This is all negative self-talk. Here's the key thing. When you get off the phone with that person, when you finish seeing that situation that Psychology Today says is personalizing or catastrophizing, you have to know how to adjust your mental state. You get off the phone from talking to somebody, get yourself right back into the mental state that you need in order to move forward and do the next thing that you have to do in the best capacity that you can. Here's the third category of negative self-talk, according to Psychology Today. It's called filtering. So there's three of them: personalizing, catastrophizing. The last one is filtering. You only focus on the negative and filter out any positive in your life. For example, you had a great day where most things went right, but then the deli got your order wrong and you stew about that instead of focusing on all the good things about your day. An example of negative self-talk around filtering is telling yourself, nothing good ever happens to me. Life is unfair and there's nothing I can do about it. We've all seen this. Okay. Any questions on just those three things? Any conversations you want to have? Anything you want me to talk about? I see y'all in the chat. Let's see who we got here. I see Sister Betty says, peace and blessings, family. I see MNDM contractor says Assalamu alaikum. Well, wa alaikum salam. Peace and blessings to you as well. Mom says happy Thursday, everyone. Sandra D is also here. Sandra D, she said, peace, love, blessings, and progress, family. Mo today, Thursday. That's right. All right. Some of y'all shy. I see these numbers up here, but y'all not in the chat. That means y'all listening. Okay. No questions. I will keep on going with this. All right. So we're going to go real quick before we show this video, and then we're going to be out of here because I want to raise your awareness around this conversations with yourself. That's why we went into it with the book. You should have read it. I'm not going to just sit here and read the book to you, but I want you to make sure that you raise your awareness around those conversations with yourself. Okay. Negative self-talk. Okay. How do you overcome it? All right. So I hate to just put something out there and not give us solutions. So I'm going to give us 7 solutions. And then I'm going to show it's a video that's going to help us also with that self-talk. Because remember, you want to control, manage, and be able to change at will your emotional state. So if you get angry, you want to be able to snap yourself out of it. If you get nervous, you want to be able to snap yourself out of it. If you get tired, you want to be able to snap yourself out of it. If you get afraid, you want to be able to snap yourself out of it. Okay. First thing is awareness. Okay. Becoming aware of negative thinking patterns and their impact on mood and behavior is the first step. This is what we just talked about. 2 things to do to help you become aware. Take time out to reflect. When you're feeling yourself feel a certain way, stop and reflect. Whoa, stop. How did I get here? Okay. I'm a big proponent on stopping and being quiet, meditating. Usually the answers to whatever it is you're looking for is embedded in the silence. Okay. And I want you to be okay. This is number 2 with challenging your negative self-talk. Talk back to yourself. Girl, what is you talking about? Talking about you look fat. Well, you just lost 40 pounds. You was fatter than this 6 months ago or whatever, but challenge that negative talk. As you get better at recognizing negative thinking patterns, you can begin to dive deeper and develop new patterns of thinking. Okay. Number 3, real simple, practice positive self-talk. You just got to treat yourself better. You got to talk better about yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. When's the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror and said, you know what, I'm so proud of you? When's the last time you looked yourself in the mirror and said, I love you so much? When is the last time you looked yourself in the mirror and said, girl, you look good? When's the last time you looked in the mirror and said, I'm really, really proud of the progress you've made? Sometimes you got to just talk yourself down off of negativity and you got to say, you know what? I know you're really focused right now on how far you have to go and how much more is in front of you, but there's so much behind you that you've overcome, and I'm proud of you. Step outside of yourself. Okay. Sometimes when you get stuck in a negative cycle, it can be helpful just to shift perspectives. Don't spend too much time, comparing yourself to other people, but, you could be in another situation. Don't spend too much time there, though. I'm not a big proponent of that. I understand what Psychology Today is saying, but don't spend too much time there. Step outside of yourself. Take a look at yourself from that perspective, not so much from the perspective of comparing yourself to other people. So I don't want you going, man, I feel chunky, but I ain't that fat, and looking at somebody else. Okay. You want to be careful with that because that can backfire on you. And just talk it out. Literally just talk it out with yourself. Sit down and just talk it out. Like I just showed you. You know what? I know you got a big hurdle in front of you, but look at how many hurdles you have overcome. Look around at all the victories that you probably have not taken time to celebrate. Talk it out. You don't have to be so down on yourself. Don't be so worried. It's a lot that has worked out in your favor and everything's going to be okay. Talk it out with yourself. Okay. Sometimes you can't talk yourself out of it. You just got to put it on the shelf. So you know what? I can't deal with that right now. I got to come back later because right now I got to focus on winning this race. I got to focus on taking this test. I got to focus on performing. I got to focus on doing what I got to do. So I'm going to put that on the shelf. I'm going to put it in the parking lot for a minute. Okay. And then I'll be back. And you know what? When I come back to it, I'm going to see if it still feels the same. So play around with all these different techniques. Okay. And then the last one that it talks about is really just putting yourself in a position where you focus on the moment. What am I dealing with right now at the present? Am I stressing myself out because I'm worried about the future? And am I dwelling on the past? What am I doing? But use these techniques, work it out, talk it out with yourself. Okay, Nubia Latifa says, ASA, Sister Saja, I have this quote highlighted. The quality of your actions will be based on the fertility of your subconscious. Ooh, yeah. What do I mean by that? Your subconscious mind has to be the fertile ground. That has to be where, when it has to be so fertile that whatever seed goes into it, it can sprout and grow. And therefore, you have to be careful about what goes into your subconscious mind. Things like falling asleep with a scary movie on or a murder mystery on and having that ingrained in your subconscious and hypnotizing yourself about these negative things. Because guess what will happen? Believe it or not, when you get up that next morning, especially if you don't recalibrate yourself, you're going to wake up with the vibration of whatever it is. Using that as an example, you just fell asleep with the TV on. When you get ready to move, when you get ready to make decisions, when you get ready to take a step, when you get ready to make an action, guess what? That action is going to be impacted by that vibration that you're in. That's why I said the quality of your actions will be based on the fertility of your subconscious. This is why we have to protect our subconscious. How do I protect my subconscious? I meditate. I pray a lot. I stop and meditate a lot. I use a lot of words, stimuli to raise my vibration. I pay real close attention to my emotions. I pay close attention to what conversations I'm having. You know, some people, you know, you talk to, you just kind of may have to be in that conversation for a minute. When I get off that call, when I get off that Zoom, when I get off that phone, when I get out of that meeting, I'm working on changing and uplifting my vibration so that my subconscious mind can reset itself back to its fertile state. So that now all of the things that I'm working on, because really it's like putting stuff in the bank. Okay. So all the stuff that I'm putting in there is in a position where it can freely flow and grow. Sister Nubia Latifa, does that help? She said, what else did she say? I think you're, well, let's see. There we go. I think you're about to talk about this through. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's see who else we got here. 704 Joe says, peace, Black people. Peace, Black brother. All right. So Sister Nubia Latifa, if you want me to say anything more about that, I'm happy to, because that's a loaded and a very powerful statement. And a lot of times we miss this one because we do not guard our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is really like our immune system. So a lot of us will put on a mask to protect what we believe is our immune system, but we don't put that mask on our brain. We don't make sure that we're careful about what we're ingesting. What affirmations or words do you use when needing to recalibrate when you're down? It depends, sis, on why I'm down. Okay. I have a tendency to not think as much of myself than I should. Or let me say it this way. Oftentimes, the way I see myself doesn't match up with my divine assignments oftentimes. And so sometimes I have to have conversations around that. I have one that I say to myself all the time. I'm whole. I'm perfect. I'm strong. I'm powerful. I'm loving. And so I'll say those kind of things. I have it written here on my computer. I'm whole, perfect, powerful, loving. Sometimes when I worry about whether or not something's going to work out, I'll say, I came from Allah and Allah is my goal. Therefore, no trial nor misfortune can disturb the course of my life, which has a much higher goal than mere comfort. Come what may, the contentment of my mind will never be disturbed. Because what's most important is how you feel. You want to get yourself back to a space where you're feeling good about something, because that's then going to send out that vibration that you need to line yourself up with the communication that will bring back to you the solution that you're looking for. If you're working on something, you're trying to figure out something, you want to work on making sure that you feel good about something. If you're getting ready to start a project and you say, man, I just don't feel good about any of it, it's best to say, wait a minute, hold on, stop. Either back up and come back to it later, or change your emotional state right then and there. Another thing, if you're worried about money, here's a good one. Look around your house. Look at all the things that you've been able to manifest with the money that you've had in your life. If you don't have that much around your house, look at what you got on your body. I manifest this lip gloss I got on, this head wrap I got on, this Samsung watch that I got on, this duster that I got in Benin, this tank top that I got from Target. You got to have those conversations so those things start sparking. And you say, yeah, I know I know I got to work on it. I'm trying to get some more money to do, but I've done a lot of really great things. In fact, about it, you've probably done more than what you even acknowledge. So those are the kind of things that I do, sis, to bring myself back to a space where I can have faith and hope again. Sometimes we get into a functional depression. And in that functional depressive state, we use deceptive intelligence to convince ourselves that it's okay to be in a funk. And you got to catch yourself when you do that as well. But talk it out, sis. Talk it out with yourself. Look in the mirror, take a walk. But I do that a lot. I talk it out with myself, and I make sure I'm having a conversation with myself. All right. Okay. I want to show you a video from one of my favorite coaches, Tony Robbins. I learned how to change my emotional state from Tony Robbins. And I started practicing managing my emotional states from listening to his lectures, but then also attending his workshops. And then when I became an emotional intelligence coach, I really focused on the emotional state aspect of things. For me, that was really important because I'm an empath. And one of the things that I used to hate about myself, you all probably have heard this story. One of the things that I hated about myself growing up is how sensitive I am. I did not like the fact that I would see something or feel something, or somebody else could say something, and I would feel the emotion and the impact of it in my body. I hated that about myself. And once I started studying emotional intelligence, emotional states, I realized how to shape it, how to shake it and make a pivot. And the pivot was real simple. I said, you know what? It was like an aha moment. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting there and I said, you know what, God? Man, Allah, you are so special. You made me this sensitive person so that I could be good at a lot of stuff. I see things a lot of people don't see. I hear things a lot of other people don't hear. I can hear vibrations and tones. I can think of things that a lot of people don't think of. I can sit at the table in a business meeting and my mind is covering more data than a lot of other people. And that's because I'm sensitive to the stimuli. And if you didn't make me like that, I'd just be a regular old person. I wouldn't be able to solve complex problems. I wouldn't be able to dissect complex people. I wouldn't be able to recognize certain things. I wouldn't be able to avoid a lot of pitfalls. And so once I start going down that hole and explaining to myself how it was really great that I was as sensitive as I am and how sensitive I always been, let me tell you something. Being that sensitive has made me good at projects. It's even made me good at decorating because my eye is so keen that I'm seeing everything. I'm impacted by everything that exists in the room. And so then I said, I can't, I'm being real blasphemous by hating something that Allah gave me that is my greatest gift and one of my greatest attributes. And so then I started doing the work on how to manage it. And so that self-talk became really important. All right, so let's check out this video. It's only like a little less than 4 minutes, but I'm going to play it, take myself off the screen, and then I'll come back and see what y'all think. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear it. Okay.
People are not one way. We are a reflection of the states we're living in. When you're in a frustrated state, an overwhelmed state, a tired state, your brain processes completely differently than if you're in a passionate state, whether you're feeling determined, whether you're feeling committed, whether you feel completely resolved. So learning to change the leader's state, learning how to change your own state. So, people, one of the silliest questions I get asked is, you're not really that happy, are you? You have bad days, don't you? Of course they have, bad times. But I don't have bad days anymore. And it's not BS. It's because I've trained myself like an athlete to go in these peak states so often that they're just natural for me. It's like building a muscle. So it's not like I'm so smart or I'm just so positive. It's just like, why would I waste my time stressing out? I have a 90-second rule. I'll stress for 90 seconds, but stress is not going to solve it. Let me put myself back in a different state. I've been teaching for years that a radical change in your body instantly changes your biochemistry. 38 years I've taught it. 2 years ago at Harvard, they did a study, scientifically proven, I've been teaching all these decades, where they call it power postures.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman stance.
Yeah, standing like Wonder Woman or Superman for 2 minutes.
Yep.
Or like you see a guy that's like this, pulled back like that for 2 minutes. Literally increases your testosterone in your biochemistry within 2 minutes by 20%. It drops cortisol by 18%, which is the stress hormone, and increases your chance of taking a more risky behavior, which is what's required of a leader, by 33%. 2 minutes. Now that's just standing a certain way. I show people use their voice, their body, their movement, which is 10 times more dynamic than just a stiff stance. And when you change your state, your mental emotional state, you change your performance. There are people that are born and upbred, you may be born with more certainty, like people are willing to take more risks. There certainly are people of that nature. But anyone can be a leader in something that they decide to become masterful in. You can be the leader of your own life. Everyone should lead their own life. You should be the leader of your family. And so I think everyone can be a leader, but there are different types and different styles of leadership. And I believe that leadership is a skill. It starts with having something that you're committed to that's larger than yourself, a vision that's bigger than yourself. If there's a large enough vision, if you have enough passion for that vision, then you're going to have enough drive to actually start to execute. And then leadership is the capacity to discipline your disappointment, because you're going to have to go through failures. And instead of making failures, you have to learn from those. And then it comes down to the skill of influence once again. And so anyone can learn, anyone can develop a vision, anyone can uncover their passion, anyone can learn to influence. That's a skill that could be learned. So yes, leadership can be taught and leadership can be learned. Can everyone be a leader? The answer is yes, because there's so many different things to lead in. And it's not a situation like you have to follow me for you to lead. I just have to know what it is I truly stand for. I always say there are two things that influence everyone. If you want to be a leader, you have to know how to change other people's states. A person is in a no state, a person's in an angry state, a person's in a frustrated state. You have to be able to influence their state, because if you change their state, you're going to change the result they get. But the second thing you have to understand is, what are people's blueprints? Blueprints, my shorthand for what are the values? What do they believe? What do they fear? I always say to people that life is found in the dance between what you desire most and what you fear most. If I want to lead you and support you, I got to know your goals, your desires. I got to know what you're scared about, what you're fearful about, what stresses you out. If I understand that, I can communicate in a way that'll inspire you to maximize, not only when I'm here, that's management. Leadership is I'm gone and you've raised your own standard and you're going to continue to perform at a higher level.
Y'all know what one of the deepest things that I thought he said in that entire clip was this: learn to disappoint your disappointment. What else stuck out to you all in that clip? Learn to disappoint your disappointment. Man, that's deep. Because a lot of times we get disappointed. We get disappointed. We're busy, we're focusing, we're praying, we're meditating. You know, we're working on trying to build something, and then we wake up the next morning and it's still not there. And so we're disappointed. But you got to disappoint that disappointment. Almost like that disappointment is so powerful. The minister talks about this in the study guides, but the disappointment is so powerful that it can cause you to disbelieve. It can cause you to lose your commitment. It can change how you see things. Disappointment is like a baby God. It's like the precursor to hypocrisy almost. You got to say to that disappointment, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you don't get to win. You don't get to be a God over this situation. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm going to wake up and put one more foot in front of the other. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm going to keep taking a step even though I can't see the step. Sorry to disappoint you. I don't care what comes at me. I ain't quitting. Sorry to disappoint you. My life belongs to God, and he got me. Sorry to disappoint you. So you got to almost talk to the self in you that is disappointed and disappoint that self. That's deep. I'm sorry. Okay, Sister Sandra said, remember commercial, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. At the end of the chapter, you say, get quiet for the good and the bad. Mindset and gratitude is so important. That's been my focus. So there's a lot. Listen, silence is pregnant. We talked about this. When did I talk about this? One day recently. Some of us are so afraid of silence. I think it might have been Monday. We're never quiet. It's always some music, some TV, some conversation, some chatter. We talking about something. We doing something. But let me tell you something. You got to get quiet. Get quiet when it's going good and get quiet when it's going bad. Because in that quiet is so pregnant with the answers to whatever you've been going through. And when you take a moment to get quiet, usually the answer comes right on up. Usually. You know, I used to do this at work a lot. When you work in the business consulting field that I was in, where it's very competitive and very fast paced. A lot of people call consulting where you just a 1099, but in my case, it was the profession of being a business consultant. It's very competitive. There's competition, you know, in the workplace when it comes to answers and putting the briefs together and the solutions and who's going to do this and that. And so oftentimes you can lose the battle because you're so busy trying to get the answer before the competition gets the answer, because that's how you're judged. It's a lot. And I was blessed to get pretty good at the game. But you know, one of my secret weapons was, before I would go into a meeting, you know what I do? I take me a 2-3 minute meditation. Sometimes they have us sitting in a cube. Sometimes we'd be in a conference room. Depends on wherever they got us sitting. And I would just go in and take me a 2-minute meditation. Think about nothing. Just get quiet. Sometimes there might be a problem or something that everybody's trying to solve, and I'll put that problem in my brain, or I may even write it out on a notepad. You know, I would always carry a notebook, and I'd go back to my little private space and I'd meditate on that and get quiet on it. And I cannot tell you how many times when I got back to the larger room, I either had the solution, I was able to put us in the right direction, or I was able to identify the solution from a number of different options. Silence is excellent for problem solving. Excellent. And here's the challenge. A lot of times when we get silent, you know, all we do is just worry. And a lot of people don't like meditating because they say all you're doing is just turning over things in your mind. But it's an art, and it takes time to just allow yourself to go into that silence, kind of go into that transcendental state. You got to practice it. And so you have to do it every single day. And I would say most of us, especially as conscious entrepreneurs, we pray every day, or at least we should be. We pray several times a day, or at least we should be. I would say before you pray, calibrate yourself with silence. So if I'm getting ready to do my 5 a.m. prayer, then at 4:30, I'm meditating from 4:30 to 5 or 4:45 to 5, depending on if I hit snooze or not. I'm meditating and just quieting my mind at that point, and then I go into prayer because I feel like it allows me to approach my prayer a little bit more clean. Now that's not, I don't do that every time. There's times when I'm messed up and I go to my prayer messed up because I need to just get this out. But I try my best to recalibrate myself, just to settle myself down. But a lot of times I just have a conversation that I want to have where I say, okay, God, I don't know what's going on, you know? Let's see what we got here. Sister Anissa, walaikum salam, sis. Sister Betty says, no weapon formed against me will prosper. Yeah, that's one of them. Another one my mom taught me was Psalms 23. You know, they got that table is prepared. I think about that. So there's all kinds of things that you can use, and things that I use in the event that I feel a little off or feel a little down. Sister Sandra says it has definitely been working for me. Thank you for that reminder. All right. Yes. Shh, quiet. There is a lecture from Dr. Miles Monroe. I think it's on here on YouTube, and it's called Everything You Want Is in Silence, or something about silence. Probably if you search Dr. Miles Monroe and then put silence in there, it'll come up. But he has a great talk on the power of silence. And you guys know that we talked about that here on this show. So all you got to do is just search the power of silence. I think I've spoken on that several times. All right, Sister Anissa put up here Surah 29:45 and Psalms 19:4. Yes, ma'am. All right, family. So next Thursday, we are going to be going into chapter 3, which is Expanded Possibilities, Cultivating a Mind Without Borders. This title of this chapter came from when I started traveling. I realized that I had borders on my mind, and I realized that my thinking had been restricted to those borders. And so I started thinking about, I remember I had a fish tank at the time, and how the fish will only grow as big as the tank. And I said, well, my mind is only going to expand as big as the borders will allow it. And so even if you can't travel, learning, watch videos of how people live in other countries, other experiences. If you're a school teacher, for example, take a look at some videos on how school teachers are navigating and managing in other countries around the world. As a business person, I've been blessed to go to a lot of countries and see it, but I spend a lot of time looking at videos and reading and studying what it was like to do business around the world. As I must have been like 10 or 11, and I had a pen pal. And I remember my pen pal was from the United Arab Emirates. I'd never heard of that before. And we would just write back and forth. When I was in college, I joined Women for Women International. And I would pen pal with women from around the world to understand their entrepreneurial struggles. And these were women who were, weaving baskets that ended up being sold in Whole Foods, or women who were farmers. And that helped my mind to expand. And so I'm always studying. If I watch movies, I watch a lot of foreign movies. I like to look at how people live. I like to just learn about how the world moves and what happens in the world. And so when I wrote that chapter, that's what I was thinking about, cultivating a mind without borders, because I realized that if my mind had borders that were placed on it, by my upbringing during the Industrial Revolution, then I'm going to be restricted to what I can do, what I can learn, who I can become. And that's what made me write it, when I thought about business. And let me tell you, I remember feeling very ashamed of myself when I discovered those borders, because being a Muslim in the Nation of Islam, we study the earth and the universe and those measurements and the distance of the earth from the sun. And the idea is to expand our mind so that we kind of begin to pulsate with the universe, so that we know this earth that we're on. But when it came to business, I was putting borders on my mind. And so I wrote chapter 3 about that. And we're going to talk about that next week, cultivating a mind without borders. So tune in tomorrow morning for Sajda Morning Coffee Talks, tomorrow morning and Saturday, 6 a.m. each day. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. This is a really popular subject, this self-talk, emotional intelligence stuff. Y'all tend to like this. We may talk about it again. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what kind of download I get. And if you guys have any suggestions on something that you'd like me to talk about, I greatly appreciate hearing from you. Okay, family. You see going across the screen here, support SajdaHouse.com, book SajdaWendyMuhammad.com, Cash App us, all of that good stuff. Why? Because we want to be able to continue to give you this platform for free. So you can Cash App or Zelle us, and do what you can. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure that you tell a friend. We have to make this stuff go viral ourselves, because oftentimes we forget that our competitors are always doing things to make a move against us. They use mercenaries. They listen just to see what subjects we talk about, so that they could go talk about it on their platform, or they could even say something negative about what we're talking about. You got other competitors who will come out and just say, all right, we're going to just suppress the data, whatever it is. All of these things happen. And so we want to just make sure that we are responsible for these types of programs going viral. So share, go on my Facebook page. I try to post there some of the links to the shows. Make sure you forward them, share them with the world. This is all about making us as a people more productive as individuals, making us more successful, making us happier, healthier, wealthier, and experience more love. Okay. And support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. If you don't have your commemorative Elijah coin, then just go to SajdaHouse.com. It'll tell you how to get it. We have sponsorship packages available as well. And we certainly need your support and help. All right, family. So if there's nothing else, I will see you all, God willing, first thing in the morning. Peace and blessings.